Let it What is man that thou art mindful of him, and the Son of Man that thou visitest him? For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and his crown is with glory and honor. I've done all I could to help them, to save the children from the storm. But no matter what I tell them, they keep living in the wrong. But I will always keep on trying to send a message in my song. And if only man would listen, then this world would be as one. What is man that just should be mindful of? While they keep living wrong, heading for destruction. What is man that just should be mindful of? Why are they living wrong, heading?
Okay, good night to all. This is Lioness on the Rise, coming to you tonight. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm a little fired up tonight, all right? And it's a good thing. Sometimes we need to get fired up. And my topic tonight is going to be about the power of truth, okay? And as always, you know, I am a woman of the Most High. Yah, and in Yeshua. Every segment is started with a scripture, and the scripture, as I always say, that the world is under right now, it is Isaiah 5, and that's chapter 5, Isaiah chapter 5 verse 19. I say this, and I have to say it because this world that we're living in now have accepted evil for good, and now good has now become evil. So as it says, let him make speed and hasten his work that we may see it, and let the counsel of the Holy One of Israel draw nigh and come, that we may know it. And woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, and put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. And woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. Okay, I'm going to stop there because that's the scripture I generally like to start off most of my segments on. And before I go on and talking about all of these other things that I want to talk about tonight, and I've made in my last segment, the most recent segment I just made, referring to the educational system and the evil intent and the deception. I reference the breakdown of the educational system by a gentleman called David Icke, and I want to make a correction because, you know, I tell you, when you're doing things, the enemy really tries to throw you off. And in that, I noticed after listening, because a lot of my stuff I research and I write it down to make sure I have it on point. And I had indicated that the system do not allow you to use your left-sided brain, and that is wrong. It should be your right side of your brain. The system do not allow us to use the right side of our brain, and they do that by indoctrinating us into schools such as elementary, middle, and high school, into the college. So I just wanted to make a correction on that, okay? As far as what I say, because, you know, you have to be very careful in what you say, and when you do error, you need to correct it, you know, and I believe in doing that. So what provoked me tonight to do this segment is that I heard another individual who, you know, puts truth out there, and, you know, they were talking about the issue of, you know, there's an issue and there's a heavy debate about as far as where women's place is, as far as speaking truth or speaking about talking about scriptures, or, you know, as far as being a messenger for the Most High. And everyone seems to want to put out and have knowledge or maybe some kind of affirmity. Women, there's no place for women in the Bible, and people are telling me hold my tongue and how I shouldn't speak and let my husband speak. So let me, this is really unfortunate that we cannot come together as children of the Most High, as we call ourselves to be. That we can come together to work out any indifferences that we may have, and try to do it for the better of humanity. Because that's really important in this time, in the end time. And we can talk about truth and we can put it out there, but it's more important from the Most High perspective that we come together in love as well, and in patience and in understanding. And really taking time to listen to one another and understand what we are saying and what we are bringing before we begin to tear each other down. So let's talk about this. This is in Corinthians chapter 12, verse 4 through 11. About who has the authority in bringing truth and how the Most High works, when it comes to the advancement of His kingdom. Now there are a variety of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are varieties of service, but the same Yah. And there are varieties of working, but it is the same Yah, who inspires them all in every one. To each is given the manifestation of the Spirit of the common good. To one is given through the Spirit the utterance of wisdom, to another the utterance of knowledge, according to the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another gift of healing by the one Spirit, to another the working of the miracles, to another prophecy, to another the ability to distinguish between, or some Bible may have divers, to another various kind of tongue, and to another the interpretation of tongue. All these are inspired by one and the same Spirit, who apportions to each one individually as He will. So what that scripture is telling you, that the Most High works through different people, different things, and different different mechanisms, I guess you can say. He works through anything and anyone, and that anything and anyone, if they're producing and bringing about goodness, they have the ability to speak goodness, or ability to bring wisdom, ability to bring understanding, ability to heal, miracles. It is the same Spirit that provokes these things, and that same Spirit is Yah. So that is what how that scripture is broken down, to understand it. Again, now there are a variety of gifts, but the same Spirit. So anyone who has some truth and knowledge will understand that. I'm going to talk about Corinthians 8. This is talking about knowledge. This is about, and even though he's talking about, the scripture really is going into about, because when Yah talks, he covers ground with everything. And he wavers in one way or no way from the other what his meaning is in that scripture. And if you have the spiritual discernment, you will understand that. This is Corinthians chapter 8. And this is talking about, I put in parentheses knowledge. Now, here's how the scripture starts. Now, concerning food offered to idols, we know that all of us possess knowledge. Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. If anyone imagines that he knows something, he does not yet know as he ought to know. But if one loves Yah, one is known by Him. So if you look at the scripture, it's saying to you, knowledge. For those of us who possess that we know knowledge, let's not be puffed up in our knowledge and knowing our knowledge. Because if we think we have all this knowledge, we really don't know nothing. Because there is a scripture, and I don't have the scripture on hand, but it is a scripture that says that, and I believe it's in Ezra, that man knows nothing of above. I would even go say he doesn't really know much of below either, because there is so much things that is in this earth, is in this world, that man has yet to even really know. that Yah has kept secret and hidden from man because of their inability for self-control, their wickedness, their evil intent, and their ability to give in to their selfish desires and their own destructive needs, their own selfish gain. All right, so I want you all to know this, and those who say they know the truth. So I want to put that out there for people who profess they know the truth, and how this got really provoked a book. And this is a heavy topic debated. And the other thing I want to say, and for God's, as you know, that particular topic was talking about, you know, for you all out there who want to say what a woman's place is, and who Yah chooses to bring truth. And you know, there were many biblical men in the ancient time, and those men have had enormous amount of wisdom. The wisdom that those men have is nothing compared to what we claim, or even myself have wisdom. Okay, but there were a lot of righteous women that work on the behalf of Yeshua and Yah. And if you read through the scriptures, you can find them. Now I understand, you know, for each, you know, there's a majority of women out there that are rebellious, and as well as men. I don't think that we can throw no one stone to no one gender. There are unrighteous men and there are unrighteous women. They have in both categories. And one of the other things I wanted to mention too, in regards to who Yah chooses, there's a scripture, and I was trying to find it, but I couldn't find it because I know I had it highlighted, because I have a couple of Bibles that I work with, and there's some that I have more scriptures in, and what it is that the highlight tends to fade on them, and I can skip it. But I'm going to find it. But I know the scripture, and that scripture goes that and Yah, He will have compassion on whom He will have compassion. He will have mercy on whom He will have mercy. And He can make the circumcised uncircumcised, and He can make the uncircumcised circumcised. So again, that scripture is saying to you, Yah does what He wants, with whom He wants, when He wants, and how He wants. So what is man to dictate or determine to say what a woman can't do and what a woman should do and where a woman should be and how I should hold my tongue on all of this stuff? So they really need to understand Yah as they say they understand Yah, okay? And I even going to go fast too, because you know I am a woman of African history. I make sure to that's my area of focus, and you know, understanding and somewhat expertise. And you know, and I'm glad that I did take the opportunity to learn my African history and become have my bachelor's in African history. So this is a little quote that I took from Sojourner Truth, which I thought was very inspiring. And for those men out here, and this is actually what I told this gentleman in a comment that I responded to him, and it's from Sojourner Truth when she was in they were in the town hall, and how they were protesting against her because you know they were saying that she had no place to be in these meetings because she was a woman. And then this is what it goes down like. That little man in black there, he says a woman can't have as much right as a man because Christ wasn't a woman. She stood with outstretched arms and eyes of fire. And this is how she said, "Where did your Christ come from?" And she says it again, "Where did your Christ come from?" She thundered again. That's how it describes it. And she goes, "From God and a woman." Now I would say from Yah and a woman, okay, because that's in slavery time. She said man had nothing to do with him. So when you want to go and start throwing and putting down a woman, you need to understand what you're putting down. We should not be putting down our women. We should not be putting our women in a place as if they have no place. Okay? And that is totally wrong and unrighteous if you call yourself a righteous person. Okay? Because it was a woman that brought Yeshua here. He came through the canal of a woman. Okay? So be careful when you start throwing the Most High daughters under the bus or putting them in a place they do not belong. To each carry their own sin or their own misgivings. Because the Father said the son will not suffer for the sins of the father, and the father will not suffer for the sins of the son. So you need to understand what that means. Okay, we will not suffer for every woman who have been a Jezebel, who have been rebellious, or who have been unrighteous, because praise thanks be unto Yah, He judges us for our own deeds. Okay, make sure you understand that. Now, as the nature of talking about multiple wives, I asked the gentleman, I said, you know what, send me the scripture where Yah, the Most High, Almighty, that says that it's okay for a man to have multiple wives. Now we're talking about the power of truth, all right? And if I'm gonna say something, I need to back my stuff up with what I say and my scriptures, because that's what I study, and I've been studying it for a long time. And I not only study it from how I look at it, I study it based on certain individuals who I can tell they're clearly unblemished, and they study the scriptures with no partiality to no one. Now, this gentleman, some certain individuals that I do follow, these individuals that I follow, they were speaking like in the 1930s, 40s, okay, and when I listen to them, I know that they're referring to a certain race, because at that time, this truth that we know now about really being able to identify what race that is the Most High chosen children. We all know that now. But at that time, that truth was not to be revealed. So this gentleman, when he talks about the scriptures, he talks about it with a purity and a genuinity of truth to the Most High Yah. It is really unblemished in that way. All you have to do is rearrange the race, and you know the truth. And the way he breaks it down, he really opens your eye, because at that time most of those Bibles probably were a little bit more accurate, and they had a little bit more, they did more reading. The internet wasn't as advanced. There was really no internet then. There was no internet then. So everybody did a lot of reading and more reading, and and not everything might have been as completely corrupt. They might have had an opportunity to read things, and he even restates that how the botched up King James version. Okay, so the man knows what he's talking about, and I've learned a lot from him. And in saying this, again, we talking about, we have this in this time and era that we're living in. The last thing men need to be thinking about is having multiple wives. That just tell you what head they think with and what head they focusing on. They all caught up about 1,000, 6,000, 7,000 years ago with Abraham and Jacob with the multiple wives, and and all this, okay, and King Solomon had 700 wives or 300 concubines or whatever. Now I'll tell you something, each of these men, especially we know where King Solomon is now, with all the wisdom King Solomon had, his wisdom led him a folly and astray. It was when he actually forsake his own life, when he disobeyed Yah. He broke Yah's heart, I'm sure, because Solomon was a wise man, but he wasn't wise enough to save his own salvation. And a lot of what Solomon did, we are also suffering for it now. So these things, these men who had these biblical wives at that time, there were reasons, and there's more reasons. The reasons a lot deeper than people realize. And all you think about, you hear these men and these Israelite men, they continue to advocate for this. They continue to say, there was more than one woman in the Garden of Eden and all this, and this is their foundation that they build and continue to promote. Okay, which all you do in multiple wives means multiple sin, men. I want to tell you that now. But let me tell you, let's refer to book the Corinthians, book 1. And this is in Corinthians 1, chapter 7. Let's read what they say about how much wife a man's supposed to have and a husband and woman supposed to have. This is chapter 7, verse 1. Now concerning the matter about which you wrote, it is well for a man not to touch a woman, but because of the temptation to immorality, each man should have his own wife, and each woman her own husband. The husband should give to his wife her conjugal rights, which probably means, intercourse, to be able to go into each other, and likewise the wife to her husband. For the wife does not rule over her body, but the husband does. Likewise the husband does not rule over his own body, but the wife does. Do not refuse one another, except perhaps by agreement for a season, that you may devote yourselves to prayer. But then one come together again, lest Satan tempt you through the lack of self-control. Okay? Then it goes on to say, I say this by way of concession, not of command. I wish that all were as I myself am, but each has his own special gift from Yah, one of one kind and one of another. To the unmarried and the widow, I say that as well. Okay, let me see. Single as I do. Okay, yes, this is what it goes to say. I'm sorry. And then this is going on. This is Corinthians 1, verse 8. To the unmarried and widows, I say that it is well for them to remain single as I do. But if they cannot exercise self-control, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to be aflame with passion. To the married I give charge, not I, but Yah, that the wife should not separate from her husband, likewise the husband from the wife, but if she does, let her remain single, or else be reconciled to her husband. Then it goes on to chapter 32. When he talks, I want you to be free from anxiety. The unmarried man is anxious about the affairs of the Yah, how to please Yah. But the married man is anxious about worldly affairs and how to please his wife. And his interests are divided. And the unmarried woman or girl is anxious about the affairs of Yah, how to be holy in body and spirit. But the unmarried woman is anxious about but the married woman is anxious about the worldly affairs and how to please her husband. Okay? So, here talks about, how Yah feels. He would prefer you not to be even married. That you love him. You would be more in love with Yah than your husband. But if you cannot exercise self-control, okay, you are free to get married. But he certainly emphasized you should have your own wife, and your wife should have her own husband. He doesn't say, oh, you should have at least 2 wives or at least 3 wives. Okay? And I told this brother, send me the scripture where Yah Almighty says it's okay for a man to have multiple wives. This is in his law. It's a commandment. Right? And I'm waiting. I hear that, I hear a whole lot of stuff about, I'm not going to bow down to no woman. And I never asked nobody to bow down to me. I don't think nobody should be bowing down to nobody. Okay? I think we need to be able to be adults and to effectively admonish one another. And if we are wrong or incorrect about our position and what we believe, then let's do a little bit more digging and a little bit more looking before we are so quick to be so arrogant in how we communicate our thoughts. Because you see, remember, as we said in the scripture, it says knowledge puff up, but love builds up, right? And that's more important to Yah more than anything else, is a matter of love. Love thyself as you love thyself. Love your neighbor as you love thyself. And that's to another fellow Israelite, to another fellow Israelite. That's why we are a peculiar people unto him. Because we are to show each other this kindness one to another. In light, we may not agree with it. This has been a long-standing debate forever, and I'm not going to go in and on about it because I know the truth. And you can go and read it for yourself. And the Most High Yeshua, and I will go to reconfirm what he said, and all of you all know this. He said, a man should cleave unto his wife, and a wife unto her husband, and become one flesh. One flesh, not 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, extra wives, flesh. So I don't know. Uno means one in my book. Okay, so when you want to try to say, you talking about truth, and you saying that you don't have a problem people asking you questions or people telling you things because you don't know everything. None of us know everything. I know I don't know everything. And I'm always open for people to reproof me, because Yah reproach no one who wants wisdom. But I will not be arrogant or puffed up in my knowledge, because I think that makes me that really represents me being foolish. Okay, because the fear of Yah is the wisdom of knowledge, and I fear Him, and I know my knowledge is nowhere near to what He is. I'm not even a pebble or a friggin' mustard seed compared to the Most High's knowledge and wisdom. Everything that I know is what He gives me and how He helps me to understand. Okay, and I don't take it upon myself to say that I know more than Him, because everything everybody knows what another man have written. Okay, let's just put it out there. Let's just be real with that. Many men and many scholars have written many things, but they say one thing they have said, and this is out of an own man's mouth. I was looking for this scripture the other day when I was actually talking about trying to find add it to my segment, and it actually appeared to me. Bear with me, guys. I'm getting to it. It's coming, I'm coming. Here it is. This is a quote, I believe, by Louis F. Weir, French guy. He says, men will not be judged by what historians have written, but by the words that Yah has spoken. Okay? So, we have many people, many scholars that write many things about their perception and understanding of what Yah's word is. And you have these men who say they know the truth, but yet not one of them are really living the word of the Most High and Yeshua. And when they, especially if it's a woman that starts talking about the truth, she gets become under attack, because she is speaking righteousness and truth for the Most High. Now, why would you deny a woman because she's a woman if she's speaking righteousness and truth? Long it is bringing the advancement of Yah's kingdom, Yeshua's kingdom, you need to be on the same bandwagon, whether I'm a woman or a man, or even a child who He has blessed, because He said in the last days He's going to pour on His Spirit, and young men will be prophesying, and young women will be prophesying. So and there's a lot of them on there that are saying things and having dreams, or and some are right. You still have to have discernment. You know what I'm saying? Because no matter what, I always again encourage people to have your own discernment, to think for themselves, to pray for themselves, to bring it back to the Most High. Always reconfirm and confirm with the Father. Is this really true? And Yeshua will always confirm it. You will know it. You don't have to depend on nobody to be your complete soul guide into what is right and what is wrong, as this individual always claim and profess, right? We got to take it upon ourselves. Like he said, don't listen to me. You know what I'm saying? Find out for yourself. And that is what I am encouraging everybody to do when it comes to my word and what I'm saying. And I'm going to give you the facts. Like I said, in chapter 7, Corinthians, it talks about that specific approach about how many wives or what a man and a woman wife should be marrying. He didn't say nothing about having more than one wife. Okay? Things happen for a reason. And it goes a lot more deeper than people think. One person's perspective does not mean that's the perspective of Yah. And you may call him Yahweh, and you can call him Yahuwah or Yahweh. Okay? Now, I like to stick with Yahweh. Or I say Yah. And he knows who I'm talking about. And if you seek Yah with all with all your heart and in truth, he hears you. He hears you. So no one can tell me what to say and what not to say and how to hold my tongue. And if I'm speaking righteousness for my Father in heaven, who are you? Who are you that he should be mindful of, that he will listen to you, that will not allow me to speak his word and his truth and bringing the advancement to his kingdom? Here's what I'm about. I'm about bringing truth to my people and listen and being just about it, whether it be man or woman. And I'm not going to throw all women under the bus. If there's women out there that are talking righteously and living righteously and trying their best to fight their way through this evil, sinful world, because it is hard. There's a lot of demons out there are working overtime against the people of the Most High who are living righteous and walking righteous, because they want to bring us down, but it ain't happening. You know what I'm saying? It's just not going to happen. I'm strong in Yah. You understand? Like Psalm 144 said, that's my psalm. Blessed be Yah, who teach my fingers to fight and my hands for war. I'm sorry. Blessed be Yah, my strength, but teach my hands to war and my fingers to fight. My goodness and my fortress and my high tower and my deliverer, my shield and he in whom I trust. Okay? Who subdued the people under him. Yah, what is man that thou takest knowledge of him? Alright? So what is man that thou takest knowledge of him? Alright, man, Yah don't take knowledge of man, and he shows no partiality to man. Alright? Let's get that straightened out. Let's not get it twisted, as they say. He shows no partiality to man. Okay, so you may walk and talk. You walk talking for the Most High, and you're righteous, and you have all this knowledge you're spitting out there. Okay, you said you bow down to no man, but you may not bow down to no man, but Yah show no partiality to no man. Okay? So, let's just let's get real with that one. So, I think it's really unfortunate that as people who say we are a people of the Most High, and we're trying to bring about the goodness to all of our people who are suffering out there, you know what I'm saying? And getting truth from all over the place and just as confused as they can be. I want to keep on track. And I want to make sure that whatever I say is in alignment with the Most High Yah and Yeshua. And I make sure to do my homework, say my prayers, and let him bring me to that truth before I open my mouth and say the wrong thing. And one thing I'm going to say is, this is the most horrible time to even keep talking about some damn multiple wives in a time like this, where lust is the number one demon that is bringing everybody souls to hell, is pretty much what's going on. There's no way that men should be thinking or even contemplating having multiple wives. Okay, because it is a sin and it is wrong. It's in the Bible and it's stated clearly how men are supposed to conduct themselves. But see, men want to keep hanging on to these biblical men who've had multiple wives. That gives them their validation. That gives them, you see, this is how it was. But you know what? You all always choose to stick with certain scriptures that seem to justify your position on what you want to do, because you really, in all honesty, you're thinking with your penis. You just want more sex. And you know what? It disheartens Yah to know that you think with your flesh all the time, because he said he has given men a measure of self-control. But the problem is, none of you all utilize it. None of you all utilize it. And you have the ability to do so. And you keep letting your penis lead you to hell. And that's just the way that goes. whether you like it or not. So let me go back and talk about, which I actually brought up this scripture, Ezra chapter 4 verse 37. I'm giving you the scripture where they say wine is unrighteous, the king is unrighteous, women are unrighteous, or the sons of men are unrighteous, or their works are unrighteous, and all such things. There is no truth in them, and in their unrighteousness they will perish. But truth endures and is strong forever, and lives and prevails forever and ever. And with her there is no partiality or preference, but she does what is righteous, and instead of anything that is unrighteous or wicked, all men approve her deeds, and there is nothing unrighteous in her judgment. To her belong the strength and the kingship and the power and the majesty of all ages. Blessed be Yah of truth. So you notice every time they talk about righteousness and wisdom, they always talk about it in the female sense. You know that? Y'all ever notice that? Let me back that up again. Proverbs chapter 4 verse 5. Okay? Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Exalt her, and she shall promote thee. She shall bring thee to honor when thou dost embrace her. She shall give to thy head an ornament of grace, a crown of glory shall she deliver thee. That's wisdom. You see how Yah speaks? This is Proverbs. Solomon wrote Proverbs, those who don't know. And he identifies wisdom with a female principle. And for those who want to put women down, okay? That's that idea. Then I also talk about, this matter, like I said, when I talk, we're talking about multiple things, and this is about the power of truth. And you can't stop it. It's unstoppable. And when it's the truth, there's nothing can come up against it. And that's why when I made the previous segment about the educational system, this is also to concur with that, the power of truth. And I'm going to emphasize, and I'm going to actually reiterate Frederick Douglass' impression of truth. When a great truth once get abroad in the world, no power on earth can imprison it, or prescribes its limits, or suppress it. It's bound to go on until it becomes the thought of the world. Now that it has got fairly mixed in the minds of the few, it is bound to become fixed in the minds of the many, and be supported at last by a great cloud of witnesses which no man can number and no power can withstand. And that's Frederick Douglass. Okay? And that's the definition of truth. Now the reason why I brought up the contest of King Darius and his bodyguards, because these men wanted to, whoever was going to win that contest, they was going to get to sit valiantly next to the king and be, really praised and be considered the wisest. In those days, what value men more? What was the greatest value to men? And it was being acknowledged as men of wisdom, men of character, of honor, which we don't have none at all now today. Unfortunately, there might be a few, but they're far by few. But in those ancient times, these are the things that men. Some of the men, because men in those ancient times, they were deep wickedness and evil, but what I'm referring to in this particular, this is the mannerisms and the mentality of these young men and who worked in these palaces and the courts. So these three men, bodyguards, King Darius' bodyguards, all again just emphasizing the power of truth. And who won the contest, and again it was truth, because you know why? Yah is truth. Yah is truth, and truth is Yah and Yeshua. They are truth. And that's what it all boils down to. It's the power of truth. You can't stop it, you know. And I'm not here to brag, you know what I mean? I'm here just to talk about truth. And I also going to bring this up again because I brought this up in another segment, and unfortunately I do not have this man's name who had talked about and characterized and described truth in this content. And he said truth is independent of opinion. By its very definition, truth is intolerant of error. Every aspect petitioning the conscience for acknowledgement. The individual, however, holds the key to admission or rejection. So you can either acknowledge Yah's truth or you can reject it. And you know, everybody got their own way of expressing and conveying truth. And I applaud it. And if it's truth, and if you bring it a certain way, because that was the one thing I appreciated. That was the one thing that Malcolm X had a power. He had a way of speaking to people, different people who had a different, maybe an outlook, and how, you know, because you have to communicate to people based on their understanding and being able to connect with them. And if you can bring them truth in the language that they understand, it is by far a phenomenal thing. And I applaud that. I don't stand in the way of it. We must be able to connect to people on different levels. And if we have people out there that bring in the truth in that manner, then so be it. Again, the same spirit for the same good. Now when we get caught up or puffed up in our opinions and in our validations, and you refuse to say, you know what, I might be wrong. And if you don't have the power to come down and say that, trust me, Most High will humble that ass. No matter who you are. Okay? Because again, I'm going to refer to say, he shows no partiality to no man. And that's why I love Luciano. He is one of a pioneer. I know he's a messenger of the Most High. Because every song he sings is relevant to what's happening in the world today. I'm going to let you all listen to the rest of the song. And you know what? You know, like he says, you know, I'm still not going to give up in communicating to my people and seeking people who want to hear righteousness. You know, I don't have a huge fan or a huge base. And it's all right. It's not to me. The Most High don't work like that. The few that listen, I am blessed and I'm thankful for. For the few that listen. For the few that take the time to hear what I have to say and understand. One brother even followed my channel. First comment that I ever received. And I have nothing but respect and appreciation for this brother, because that really shows that the Most High was working in him to let him send me that comment. Because you see, the Most High loved me. I am a woman of the Most High. I am anointed. Okay? And I thank that brother and bless him. So I'm going to let you hear the rest of his song. Lioness to the Rise is out. Don't worry, I'm coming back again, honey. I got a lot more to say. All right, here you go.
Oh, Jah has made man in his reflection, give him power and dominion, whereas all his glory gone. Any man who don't follow God's instruction and don't get caught in this illusion, then we all could live as one. What is man that Jah should be mindful of? Why are they living wrong? Heading for destruction. Lord, Lord, there's still hope that man can enter. Under the power of faith and suffering the the kingdom of God and the adventure. What is man that Jah should be mindful of? If there is living wrong, living for destruction. What is man? That Jah should be mindful of? for destruction.